Hey guys, Burb here. So today we are talking about what I think is the best tower defense game on Roblox now. As somebody who plays a lot of tower defense games, I have a decent amount of experience in this. I mean, I'm level 500 in TDS. I've got a lot of experience in a lot of other tower defense games, major ones on Roblox, and I think I could say this. Now, this is a bit of a complicated question. People fight over this all over the place, over what they think, these tower defense fans. And honestly, you'd think it's some big tower defense game, I don't know, TDS, maybe TDX. That one just popped up. See, people are saying, "Oh, it's killing TDS." Maybe some of the smaller ones like Monolith Defense or Tower Galactica. But in my own personal opinion, I think that this tower defense game here, Cube Defense, is the best one. Now, I'm going to get into why. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this video here. I'm just going to say my basic reasons here. I think they have their priorities straight. There's lots of things to do in this game, and it's very challenging, and it's also very unique, which are all great things to have in a tower defense game. This isn't promotion or anything. This is just my genuine thoughts. But yeah, let's just get straight into these explanations here. So, if you look at any popular tower defense game, let's just take for example TDS. Let's look at the boss, one of the bosses, Fallen King. Fallen King has a very detailed model. Look at the shield, look at the crown. There's everything about it, super detailed. And if you look at all the other bosses, you can also see a lot of work and detail went into them. And even down to basic enemies. Look at the Pumpkin from the Lunar Overture event. Got pretty detailed model for, just a basic enemy. But then we go to Cube Defense. Its models, look, they're just basic cubes. There's no animations, they just slide across the ground for most of them. Some of them have bodies, which they walk with, but it's very basic animations. Now, the problem with this, you'd think, is that, oh, this takes away from the game. You're just oh, this is horrible. But here's the thing, they don't. It's because they're done well. They definitely put work into it, but not enough to subtract from being able to do a bunch of other things. If you look at it, if you look at the gameplay, you're not just looking at the enemies oh my gosh, what the heck even is this? You will with some of the tower defense games that have poorly designed animations and enemies. And this is not just with enemies too. Their towers, while still being a lot more, they're obviously a lot heavier in detail than the enemies. They are definitely not as detailed as tower defense games have their towers be. Just throw up a few examples here. I definitely think that another thing that helps a lot with this low detail priorities thing is skins. Their skins, most skins are able to apply to every tower, and aside from a few of them, they're literally just recolors or cool models. Take for example the ghostly skins. There's 4 color variations of them, and it's literally just their models are transparent and change to a different color. But this is fine. Its skins shouldn't be this huge change. You don't need them to be. They're just supposed to be a cool thing. If you want to diversify up looks, or if you want to be able to tell your towers apart from someone else's. And also, this game doesn't have any other the things that take a while to do. Emotes doesn't have, for the most part, it doesn't have an OST. I don't know if there are any original songs. They just use just random songs. But this allows them to put work into a whole lot of other things, the lobby, extensive, and also some of the other things that we'll get into in a bit are because they aren't focusing so much on these smaller visual details. So, Cube Defense has 14 non-event game modes, which you'd think, oh, they just kind of mesh together, like it's just like a bunch of, like, they're not very unique from each other. But that's actually not the truth. They are very separate. There's the 4 main game modes, which is about what you expect. A large quantity of waves, either between, I think it's, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's 25 to 40. I'll correct myself in editing if I'm wrong. Not a whole lot of major gimmicks and stuff. Like, sure, there's some enemies with special properties, like sun enemies, which can't be attacked by either sun temple towers or the electric enemies that get sped up by specifically tier 1 through 5, Poseidon's Tomb. But there's not too much there. They have some cool bosses, like the Rubik's Blue Ice King, all that stuff. Then there's the Cupocalypse versions of those 4 main game modes, which remove the wave structure entirely. Well, almost, because there's technically waves, but they're not really put as waves. And you're also not allowed to use economy towers. There's just like cash bonuses, and you have to defend off the cubes, but if there's too many of them on the board at once, you lose, and also the normal, if your HP drops to 0, you lose. And they have a lot rougher wave sets. And the hardest one, Chaos Cupocalypse, is rough. It has 2 of the final boss of normal Chaos, and also there's these bosses, the cursed sun bosses, that they send out like at last, that drain 100 HP from your base pretty rapidly. And I think I'm gonna get a clip for this, but you can see that I'm probably going to be on pretty low HP. They give you 4,000 HP just because of these enemies. If you take too much damage in early game, then you're dead. And then there's also Endless. It's not actually endless, but if you look at the Endless leaderboard, you realize there might as well be endless, considering people have not even made it to wave 200 legit, and there's 1,000. It's about the same as the rest of the game modes, except the scaling gets really rough quickly. I'm going to see how far I can get. I'm going to put that on the screen right here. You can see that I probably did pretty good. I'm like pretty good at this game. Then there's Trial of Zavuso, which is a special game mode type with only 2 modes, which I believe are medium and hard, and those have different level locks. I think it's 15 and 35, and it's only open on the weekends, which is cool. Gives you a bit of excitement waiting for that to see if you can beat it. And then there are also 4 paths on this, which is rough. The bosses are really rough as well. There are some cheap strategies for this, but they're not the easiest in the world. And also you get reward towers for this. You get the Star of Zavuso and Lord Zavuso, depending on which one you did, normal and hard respectively. They're kind of like ASL in the fact that they lock onto an enemy and don't walk off until that enemy's dead, or in the case of specifically Star of Zavuso, the enemy leaves its range. This is a rather cool game mode, I'd say. And there's also Nightmare, which is kind of like the TDS hardcore mode, but it's, it's a little bit, well, actually, yeah, this is more like modern day hardcore mode. It's pretty difficult, and it requires expensive towers, and requires level 50, but unlike hardcore, there's no special currency for this, and the only unique reward is a Void Seal. And also this has a Cupocalypse variant here, which I didn't mention in the Cupocalypse section because this is off in the Nightmare section. So, and then that last non-event game mode is Deep Void. This is a part of the Nightmare section. It's basically just Nightmare, except way, way, way worse. It's a lot harder. It requires level 75, and you also need to use a Void Seal, which you got from beating Nightmare. If you lose, you have to go back to Nightmare and get another Void Seal. Now, I don't exactly have the most experience, so I had Sinister help me do this because he's beaten it, and yeah, he has the experience there. So there are a lot of gimmicks to deal with here. Some returning, like the one random effects from the Trial of Zavuso, which I forgot to mention. Basically, there occasionally maybe you'll get some money swiped, or you'll have your tower stunned, or you'll just die. Except these ones are a lot more unforgiving. Except there are two positive ones, I think, or one. I can't remember which one. There's another game mode, which was an event game mode, that also had positive effects, but I don't know. The maximum of 6 players. They end up with 1 million plus HP bosses on the final wave, like 3 of them. And also the final boss, Lord Vulcanol, he scams you because he starts out really weak, but then once you get him down, he gets over 1 million HP, and then once you get him down, then he deletes all of your towers, steals 98% of your money, and then speeds up significantly and gets 100,000 HP. So yeah, that's rough. This game mode overall is just really rough, but you do get one of the best towers in the game, Void Rift, from this, which I will go into more. Now let's get more into actual difficulty of some of the earlier game modes. This game does a good job with the difficulty curve, which most games struggle with. Here, 4 game modes work out perfectly, which I think is the ideal amount of game modes to work with. And also, there are 5 rankings of maps, being just 1 through 5 stars, and having the higher stars maps gives you better rewards, which is cool. Also, sometimes you have to try out harder maps because how the rotation works, where it only rotates every once in a while, and you can rotate it faster if you spend some money, but you might not want to do that considering that you're usually saving for something. And there are also detections as well, which are Shadow and Metal, basically the hidden and lead detections from TDS, both of which are decently common. Sometimes they appear before each other. It's just like be able to diversify your towers. And they, unlike most games, these actually stay a threat into late game. Not just because they're higher HP, like actually because they are hidden or they're Shadow or Metal. Like, for example, the juvenile and adult Shadow Electric Eels. Mainly maybe this is just me, because I like using Blazefall, and Blazefall is hard-coded to never attack hidden enemies. These guys are rough sometimes. You basically have to bring Campfire to most rounds, not only because it's a great support tower that you get the discount, it also lets you detect Shadow on most enemies. On most towers, I mean, because Blazefalls, that doesn't work. But the metal enemies, they have some rough late game ones. I mean, the mid game ones as well, like stuff like Armored Cube Factory or the Gilded Lead Cube boss can be rough. There are also a lot of bosses in these game modes. And now, I don't know if they're exactly bosses, but I call them bosses because they have a giant HP bar. But, like, for example, on Wave 10 of Chaos, you just get hit with the aforementioned Armored Cube Generator, which generates Armored Cubes which have 90 HP, and it's lead, and it also has 1,050 HP. And the wave skips and sends out 2 1,000 HP enemies after it. So, yeah, they are, it's all absolutely chaos. This is a bit of an umbrella section covering whatever I want to cover that I missed before. So first, we'll start off with the kind of golden skins, not really, Paragons. Basically, they give buffs. Some of them give buffs to tiers 1 through 5, and then they also give a tier 6 upgrade, which as of right now, you could just buy on every single tower, every single one of the towers you have down, and they're really expensive. They range anywhere from like 17,000 to 120,000, depends on which one you're using, and they cost a lot of coins to get as well. The hardest game mode, hardest normal game mode, Chaos, gives 2,000 coins. It takes like 20 minutes. So, when these are costing upwards of 85,000, you're gonna need to grind a lot for these. But they are very useful. Also, you can find these at the back of the skin shop. There's also a really good method for grinding there. There's a game. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the mini games. There's like 2 mini games there. It's like a normal one, which is kind of like easy mode, but with 40 waves. And then there's one, it's like The Last Stand from Plants vs. Zombies. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So there's also the event structure, where every now and then when you get an event, you can go in there, and there are these paths which you can go to, and at least for the Halloween ones, you can it's random what towers you have, so this is a chance for newer players. I know in the Christmas one currently it's not random. You have the same loadouts you have going in, but those ones they're, well, I wouldn't exactly say easier, but considering I could solo the first one, you could probably beat it with a group of people, the first path. And they also have a lot of paths, which means that they can make the first one easier for people to at least be able to get the towers in the shop. Yes. And speaking of the towers in the shop, the events have towers in the shop that you get from the special currency you get from playing the event. Currently, the Christmas event going on has pool. I know, a little bit weird for a Christmas event, but there's no summer event, so I guess this is where we're going to have to go, which allows you to put water towers in it. Jolly Gatling, which is pretty cool, is that it can only fire in like the direction it's facing, but you can also use the ability to change where it's facing. And also Santa's Sleigh, which is kind of like Stealth Bomber, where it's a burst explosive tower that flies over the enemies. Oh yeah, and also there's skins. Cool. There's also skins too, with more uniquely modeled ones, and also skin crate that gives skins like the normal ones. And also, this game has so many gimmick towers. There are ones that we've seen in other tower defense game, like other kind of gimmicks like we've seen in other tower defense games, like Tomb. Poseidon's Tomb specifically, which has chaining and is also a water tower. Something kind of like Electroshockers chaining, where it can hit multiple enemies as long as they're close enough together. Then there's like Campfire, which has so many buffs. It gives range, it gives a discount, it gives it lets towers around it see shadow, and also it heals the base every wave. So, like, Medic, DJ, and also Ace Pilot, kind of. Funny how all of the, yeah, it's just, like, all of the support factors of those combined. Then there's Mortar, which is a burst explosive tower that applies fire. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one anywhere else. And there's Void Rift, which, oh my gosh. This is the tower you get from Deep Void, which I mentioned before. It does very low damage, except it has scaling based on the enemy's HP. There's a cap, thankfully, but there's also an ability which does a crap ton of damage. You can just see it like tear through bosses, and also it buffs all towers that are considered Lord towers, kind of like Star of Zavuso and Lord Zavuso, and some other ones, like some of the event ones. It gives stun immunity, damage buff, and a range buff to those. And there's a lot more that are in this game that are similar to other tower defense games, gimmick towers, but except like all of them are gimmick towers. But yeah, that's it for this video. I would recommend you play this game. It frequently gets pretty good updates, so you'll be able to stay entertained even with all of the content that's already in this game. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go play Cube Defense for me. Yeah. Big Red Barb out.